Good afternoon, everyone. Can I start by acknowledging the traditional owners and paying my respects to elders past, present and emerging? And can I acknowledge CEDA State Director and Company Secretary Kyle Murphy? Great to be here, Kyle, and thank you for the invite. Can I also acknowledge, of course, the two previous speakers, Dr. Simon Longstaff and Jared Ball, and thank you very much for your contributions. Can I acknowledge the Griffith Business School Dean, Professor, my Italian colleague, of course, Fabrizio Carmignani. Nice to have you here, Fabrizio. Vice-Chancellor for Griffith University, Professor David Grant. Of course, QUT Vice-Chancellor Margaret Shield. And Margaret, we will have that meeting soon, wherever you are in the audience. There she is. We met each other coming in, and we'll do that very soon. The University of the Sunshine Coast Vice-Chancellor and President, Professor Greg Hill. And, of course, my very good friend, I know John McKell's in the audience too, so I can acknowledge the previous Speaker of the Parliament, John McKell. In a moment, I'll probably give you that political speech full of the indices and achievements you've all come here to hear. But first, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what drives me to make Queensland schools the best in delivering quality education for all students. I know from first-hand experience that a strong future is built on a good education, and from Jared's his contribution, and that I've spent most of my life fighting inequality, particularly in the workplace. That's some of the major achievements and what I feel proud about during my time in doing that. But if you've asked past US President Calvin Coolidge, what is the key ingredient to success, he would say persistence. And I believe persistence is how, for example, sporting teams and a lot of successful people win their seasons, win their careers, even when they don't win every game or every opportunity. And it's how a daughter, myself, of very poor Italian migrants, gets to stand here proudly and very honoured today as Queensland's Minister for Education. Just as an aside, my father's not well at the moment. He's in hospital, but I know that he's very proud of what his daughters have achieved here in Australia when they arrived with their suitcase, nothing else, from a very war-torn island of Sicily, and we're very grateful for the opportunities that they know education provided to their daughters here in Queensland. And I knew from an early age that trying my hardest at school, even though I didn't do it all the time, I must confess, and trying to do my best would hold me in good stead for my future. I guess persistence is what got me through my schooling years and higher education. And when I travel the state visiting schools and visiting with Queensland students and teachers, and can I say that is probably the best part of this job as Minister for Education, I encourage them to too be persistent, and I encourage my Department of Education to do the same as well, because we have to continually be persistent to achieve the outcomes that we want. Last week, as an example, in Townsville, I visited groups of young Indigenous boys and girls at one of the local high schools who are receiving additional support because they are at risk of disengaging. Without these interventions, the principal told me, these young students were likely to drop out of school. And I met a young boy who told me he was walking out the gate, and one of those support staff, the teaching support staff, stopped him and said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I had enough. I can't do this. I'm heading out the gate." And apparently he said the teacher said to him, "There's nothing out there for you. It's what's in here is best for you." And he thought about that, he said to me, and he's now finishing year 12. And they've supported him all the way through, and they're the great stories that I love to share. I spoke with the students when I met with them about their issues, and I encouraged them not to give up if at first things don't go their way. I know that these are conversations that are echoed in classrooms every day by teachers and principals right across this state and across Australia. But I also know there are many students who will give up. and it's our job to stop them from falling through the cracks. We know that a well-rounded, good quality education has far-reaching benefits. We know that education is the path to a strong and successful economy. It is the basis for an economic environment that creates jobs and drives the economic growth of our nation. That is a goal we all share, a strong and prosperous future for Queensland, for Australia, and of course all of its citizens. But to reach that goal tomorrow, we need to make sure our students are well educated today. One of the Palaszczuk government's priority is a great start in life for all children, no matter where they live in the state, their background, or which school they attend. This morning I joined Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk to launch a 2018 Premier's Reading Challenge at the Nunda State School. This annual challenge promotes positive reading habits to all Queensland children. It's about encouraging them to read more books, to get the joy out of reading. And we know that those Year 2 students, when they were there listening to us reading that book to them this morning, they loved it. And what we want to do is make sure that all students love reading. We want all students to want to read and learn. And we know that reading is the foundation of all learning. It is the key to unlocking the door to a successful education and lifelong learning. It is the key to overcoming inequality. And we all have a role to play when it comes to addressing inequality. And in order to do that, we understand that rural and remote locations have their particular challenges. And we are about to soon launch our strategy in this area, a multi-million-dollar strategy that is due to be launched fairly soon, looking at specific initiatives for those rural and regional remote areas. We know that the greatest impact is made at the very earliest stages of life. Parents, caregivers and families have a substantial role to play in educating a child before they even reach the school gate. But we also know some children, some families need that extra help. Our schools and our teachers already do an absolutely amazing job in working with parents to support students who are struggling or in a more vulnerable situation. Where there is capacity to do more, we must do more. If we can support more students to engage with learning, then it should be done. That is why today we're also launched and announced our Ready Reading program, which is coming back to Queensland after it was cut in 2012. And the Ready Reading program provides training to adult volunteers to come into schools. We're going to train 3,000 of them over the next 3 years to assist in reading programs with children who will receive one-on-one attention, and the volunteers get the satisfaction of helping shape the child's future. We know that if we can address reading gaps early, we can make sure our young people are better equipped to meet the demands of life once they finish at school. If we can address reading gaps early, we also know that it prevents the costly interventions later in schooling or adult life, and we obviously need to act. Queensland is home to some of the best and brightest and most innovative minds, but we are also not reaching our full potential. Our Year 12 attainment rates are below the national average of 72%. However, we are seeing gains, but there are clear grounds for further improvements to be made, and that is one of the persistent areas that I want to work with the department over the next 3 years. In 2012, only 75% of Year 12 students who lived in areas experiencing significant socio-economic disadvantage achieved a Queensland Certificate of Education. That's in 2012. In 2017, this has increased substantially to 93%, an increase of around 18% in 5 years. In our Indigenous population, we have seen significant gains as well. In 2017, 92.2% of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Year 12 state school students graduated with either a QCE or a QCIA, up from only 42% in 2008. So we are seeing gains, but we cannot rest on our laurels. We have to be persistent in continuing to improve that and in continuing to put in strategies and policies and practices and funding to continue that improvement. We've also seen improvement in the Year 10 to 12 retention rate for students experiencing educational disadvantage, which has increased by approximately 4 percentage points since 2012. health, but once again, we need to do more. And we are doing what we can and working with the department to apply additional funding on what is actually working. And I was really inspired by the new Director General that starts next Monday, Tony Cook, of the Department of Education. Tony starts on Monday, and one of the things that he was saying and we were discussing is we need to really find out what is working and what isn't working. How are we getting the growth in some of the schools, and what is the key to that growth? What are the issues that and the practices and the policies that we are implementing to really crystallise how we can build on this success? And we know that it's not easy, and I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that our work has been done, but I was very encouraged by that because I'm really willing to work and be persistent on finding what actually works and where we target the funding to get the best results. We're also committed to make sure that our schools are safe, inclusive and equitable learning environments. Labor introduced the prep year just over 10 years ago, and we made 1 year of prep education compulsory as the first year of school. We know this critical extra year of formal education helps ensure much better long-term educational outcomes. And Queensland has invested to enable all children to access a kindergarten program taught by qualified early childhood teachers. And we know that you get the highest rate of return in early childhood development when it comes from investing as early as possible, from birth through to year 5, particularly in disadvantaged families. And the Palaszczuk government is going to put our money where our mouth is. In 2017, we applied $24.6 million being invested in early years places, delivering one-stop shops in 54 communities with the needs of the local community determining what types of services are delivered. These services aim to reduce developmental vulnerability and improve education and health outcomes for children. And they improve programs like the Queensland Kindergarten Funding Scheme, which subsidises eligible children from low socio-economic areas. And I've seen the stats. Queensland is thousands and thousands of families and children above the other state averages. We also have school-based kindergarten services in areas where centre-based kindies don't exist, and we also have a remote kindergarten program which we're being persistent with, which we're going to tinker with to make sure that we deliver the best opportunities for those young children early in their life. Continuing our work in this area, we have just launched a second phase of the Everyday Counts campaign to reach isolated and disadvantaged Indigenous families to lift school attendance rates. And it was interesting when I was in Townsville, one of the young Aboriginal boys that was talking to me, they have a board about, in the support that they get, about their attendance rates. And he was so proud that his was 96%. The only problem was he was pointing to the wrong boy. His was actually 97%. And so it was even better than that. And it was fantastic to see that they were so encouraged by the fact that he had achieved that high 90s attendance rate. And when you heard his mother speak about the program and what a difference it's made to his son, just attending school nearly every single day, and he reckons that the ones he missed was because he wasn't feeling well, it was just great to see the look on both of their faces. So, we need to remain, constant, aware that all children are different, but they should all have the opportunity to enjoy rich and fulfilling lives. The first step to ensure equity is ensuring that all children have the very best start in life. Focusing on the first 5 years of every child's life will be a key priority for the Palaszczuk government. We will be persistent. It will become one of our flagship priorities. We will continue to invest in this vital priority, work across agencies, to work with parents, families and communities to give all our children a great start. Thanks for having me today.